Have you ever found yourself procrastinating, avoiding that one conversation, or resisting a situation you know you need to face? Do you ever feel like you're running away from something, but you're not sure what? Avoidance is a survival mechanism, but it often holds us back from our growth, from confronting our truths, and from moving forward in life. Today, we're going to dive deep into one of the most powerful psychological forces at play in our daily lives, the mechanism of avoidance. And we will explore how it manifests, why we do it, and how to finally break free from its grip. Welcome to Awaken Your Essence. Today, we're going to talk about something that every single person has experienced at some point in their life: the act of avoiding what we know we should face. From avoiding difficult conversations, pushing away uncomfortable emotions, or simply delaying important decisions, avoidance is a natural response. But is it really protecting us, or is it keeping us stuck? The truth is, avoidance is more than just procrastination. It's a deeply ingrained psychological pattern that stems from fear, anxiety, and unresolved pain. In today's video, we will break down the mechanism of avoidance, how it shows up in our lives, the deep roots it comes from, and most importantly, how to confront it so we can stop running away and start living fully. Together, we will unravel the psychology behind avoidance, its long-term consequences, and practical steps to finally confront what we've been avoiding. Before we can understand how avoidance works, we need to define what it is. Avoidance is an automatic psychological response where we consciously or subconsciously steer clear of situations, emotions, or people that cause us discomfort or anxiety. It's like when you see an uncomfortable conversation coming your way, and you immediately find an excuse to avoid it. Or when you delay tackling a challenging task because it feels overwhelming. But avoidance isn't just about procrastination. It's a protective mechanism. Our brains are wired to protect us from pain, discomfort, and threat, and avoidance is one of the strategies our minds use to keep us safe. However, the question is, what happens when avoidance becomes a habit? When it no longer serves as a tool for survival but becomes an obstacle to our personal and emotional growth? Avoidance doesn't always look the same for everyone. It can show up in various ways, from small, seemingly insignificant behaviors to larger, life-altering patterns. Let's break down some of the most common forms of avoidance and how they manifest in our lives. This is when we avoid feeling certain emotions, such as sadness, anger, or vulnerability. For example, we might turn to distractions like work, food, or entertainment to numb ourselves when we feel emotional discomfort. We might refuse to confront painful experiences from the past, suppressing them in hopes that they'll go away on their own. But emotions don't just disappear. They're stored in our bodies and minds, waiting for the right moment to surface, often in ways that are even harder to deal with later. Conflict avoidance is a common form of avoidance, especially in relationships. It's that moment when you sense tension in the air, and instead of addressing it, you choose to ignore it or walk away. While avoiding conflict might feel easier in the short term, it creates a breeding ground for resentment, miscommunication, and emotional distance. Over time, unresolved conflicts erode the foundation of trust and connection in relationships. We often avoid making decisions when we're afraid of making the wrong choice or when the stakes feel too high. So, we procrastinate, wait for the perfect time, or passively let decisions be made for us. This is a form of avoidance that prevents us from taking control of our lives and moving forward. The longer we avoid making decisions, the more stagnant our lives become. Avoiding responsibility is another common form of avoidance, particularly when it comes to personal or professional obligations. It's that feeling of avoiding tasks, ignoring responsibilities, or passing the buck to others because facing them feels overwhelming or stressful. This type of avoidance often leads to feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety, as we can't escape the nagging feeling that we're not living up to our potential or commitments. So why do we avoid in the first place? Understanding the root causes of avoidance can help us better understand how to confront and overcome it. Avoidance typically arises from a combination of psychological, emotional, and environmental factors. Here are some of the most common root causes. Fear is the primary driver of avoidance. When we are afraid of a situation, feeling, or outcome, our natural instinct is to avoid it. This fear could be rooted in past trauma, rejection, failure, or the unknown. The more we avoid something out of fear, the more it reinforces our anxiety. We start to believe that facing whatever we're avoiding will be more painful than living with the anxiety of avoidance. Unresolved trauma from the past can create deep emotional wounds that lead to avoidance behaviors. If we experienced rejection, betrayal, or emotional abuse, we may avoid situations that remind us of that pain. This form of avoidance is often subconscious, as we protect ourselves from reliving the hurt or disappointment we experienced earlier in life. Perfectionism often contributes to avoidance, especially when we fear that we won't meet our own or others' expectations. The idea of making a mistake or failing can be paralyzing, so we avoid situations where we might not be perfect. This fear of imperfection holds us back from taking risks, making decisions, and ultimately growing. When we don't believe in our own worth or abilities, avoidance can become a way to avoid confronting our perceived inadequacies. If we feel unworthy or incapable, we may avoid situations where we feel exposed or vulnerable. Over time, this reinforces the belief that we're not good enough, making it even harder to break the cycle of avoidance. While avoidance may seem like an effective short-term solution to discomfort, the long-term consequences can be detrimental to our mental, emotional, and even physical health. Let's explore the impact that avoidance can have on our lives. Avoidance may reduce anxiety in the moment, but it actually increases anxiety over time. As we avoid more, the things we fear grow bigger in our minds, and the anxiety continues to build. The act of avoidance itself becomes a source of stress, as we constantly feel the need to dodge the discomfort rather than face it head-on. Avoidance can lead to a loss of control in our lives. By putting off important decisions, avoiding uncomfortable conversations, or neglecting responsibilities, we lose the ability to steer our own ship. This loss of control creates a sense of helplessness and powerlessness, leaving us feeling stuck in a cycle that we can't break. Avoidance, especially when it comes to conflict or difficult conversations, can deeply damage relationships. When we avoid addressing issues, the problems don't go away. They fester, leading to misunderstandings, resentment, and a breakdown in trust. Healthy communication is the foundation of strong relationships, and avoidance undermines that foundation. Avoiding challenges means missing opportunities for personal growth. Growth happens when we face discomfort, confront our fears, and make difficult decisions. Avoidance keeps us stuck in a state of stagnation, where we don't develop the skills or resilience needed to thrive. Now that we understand the manifestation and root causes of avoidance, the next question is, how do we overcome it? Here are some practical steps to start confronting avoidance and reclaiming control over our lives. The first step to overcoming avoidance is to acknowledge your fear and accept that it exists. Instead of running from it, face it head-on. By accepting your fear, you take away its power to control you. When faced with a large, overwhelming task, break it down into smaller, manageable steps. This makes it easier to approach and reduces the anxiety associated with the task. Instead of turning to avoidance, develop healthy coping mechanisms for dealing with discomfort and stress. This might include mindfulness practices, journaling, exercising, or talking to a trusted friend or therapist. Overcoming avoidance often requires building self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and recognize that making mistakes or experiencing discomfort is part of the growth process. The more you embrace self-compassion, the less you'll feel the need to avoid difficult situations. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the areas in your life where avoidance may be holding you back. What are you avoiding? And why? If you're ready to face what you've been avoiding and take control of your life, I encourage you to like, comment, and share this video with someone who could benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe to Awaken Your Essence to continue your journey towards self-discovery, growth, and transformation. Remember, avoidance is a natural response, but it's up to you to decide whether it will control your life or whether you'll take the first step toward breaking free and living fully.